I'm Marcus Upshaw.
I'm Jake McKinnon.
I'm Gerda.
I'm Ben Felton.
And we are presenting the United Beef Packers case.
When John McCullough arrived at the plant, he wasn't really sure what he signed up for. He noticed that the health and safety of the workers were constantly being put at risk. John also received a memo from Mr. Kramer, the general manager of the plant, demanding the termination of Bobby Vasquez. John must decide whether he will stay at the plant or not. If he stays, he needs to figure out a way how to make the safety and health better at the plant. John's vision for the plant is much different than what's currently happening. John's responsibility is to work with the on-floor supervisors, and they're not really cooperating with John right now. John was to make sure that the problems would not shut down the line or slow down the line in any way. After a while, John learned that the supervisors didn't really care for the health and safety of the employees, and this didn't make John happy at all.
And the United Beef Packers were one of the big four meat producers in the United States. And UBP had many plants across the Great Plains, include plants in Nebraska, Texas, and Iowa, Colorado, and Kansas. In the 1970s, regional competition and small players kept competition in the industry. In 1980, four top meat packer companies processed 20% beef in the United States. And in 2000, the top four companies processed 82% beef in the United States. And John McCullough is the Assistant General Manager of the Blue River Process Plants. And McCullough is responsible for the operational side of the line. Greg Kramer is the general manager of the plant, and he is responsible for the production line and checking the daily production of the meat. Kramer is the main force of this company, and all decisions must be run through him.
So for the sake of time, we're only going to cover the first three of all of the SWOT categories. So first off, we have strengths. One of the top four, or United Beef Packers is one of the top four meat packers in the United States. The top four meat packers in the United States currently control 82% of all beef sales within the country. United Beef Packers operates multiple plants across the Great Plains. The most notable locations include Nebraska, Texas, Iowa, Colorado, and Kansas. On to the weaknesses. The current cattle per hour is 350. This is actually compromising the health and safety of the workers and the public. Average employee only stays at the Blue River processing plant for about 6 months. High employee turnover rates can cause a low workplace morale, deterioration in quality of either a product or a service, reduction in market return on investment, and can cause an employee replacement cost between $3,000 and $25,000 depending on the rank of the employee. And the last one is floor managers harass and abuse female workers. Now on to the opportunities. The company can gain a great reputation as a clean meat company. So currently, United Beef Packers has had a lot of issues with recalls, so this could help patch up their reputation with all the recent recalls. The plant has a chance to improve their safety, which could also reduce their costs. As I mentioned before, the current high employee turnover rate is costing the company between $3,000 and $25,000 per employee, so this could reduce costs, and the company has the opportunity to own up and pay Bobby Vasquez's medical bills instead of doing nothing and avoiding payment. The first threat, media exposure of the poor work conditions. So examples of organizations that could do the exposing include OSHA, United Beef Packers, as well as the Blue River Processing Plant are at risk of punishment for hiring illegal immigrants. Punishment include criminal and civil fines, loss or suspension of business licenses, damage to business reputation, hiring or replacing various management personnel. Should United Beef Packers or Blue Blue River Processing Plant be taken to court and it is proven that these organizations were aware that they were hiring illegal immigrants, criminal charges could include including a legal or harboring an illegal immigrant or conspiracy to defraud government officials.
Alright, so the first option that John McCullough has is to fire Bobby Vasquez. This option involves termination of Bobby Vasquez's employment at the United Beef Packers Blue River plant. And due to the sake of time, we're only going to go over one pro and one con. So the first pro would be that United Beef Packers is no longer liable for Vasquez's medical expenses, and a con would be that it would cause dissatisfaction among most employees, making managing it more difficult. Another option is to improve the health and safety standards. This would involve purchasing improved safety equipment to help keep the employees safe from sharp objects such as knives, and the purchase of protective gear. First pro for this would be expected decrease in workplace injury, and a con would be requires capital expenditure for the company.
The third option would be training for on-floor employees. This would help the employees on floor because then now they would know how to properly do their job and how to properly be at the workplace in order to reduce the amount of injuries possible. The source of training from OSHA, which is the Occupational Health and Safety Administration, and they offer health and safety training in many different industries. One pro would be expected decrease in beef contamination, and as well as healthier on-floor employee safety. A con would be that this requires capital expenditure due to them having to outsource into another company to require training. This will cost money for the company. The last option is monthly unannounced reports and inspections. This option would involve implementing unannounced inspections and reports every month from external inspectors such as OSHA. I believe that this would help the company a lot due to them already having inspections, but they know they're coming, so they have time in order to kind of maneuver the way around the system. And a pro would be that this is expected to decrease workplace injuries, as well as a con being that the plant will need to shut down temporarily in order for them to do the training.
And for the decision criteria, first one, time to implement, and second one, employee status fictions, and third one, impact of John McCullough. And first one, time to implement. United Beef Packers Blue River want to implement something as quickly as possible and reduce shutdown fraud as much as possible. In order for the option to be considered, the option must be able to be implemented within 6 months.
Moving on to employee satisfaction, United Beef Packers currently has a high level of employee injuries as well as a high employee turnover rate. It is implied that the workers are unhappy and actually being mistreated due to comments from Vasquez as well as occurrences witnessed by McCullough himself. Each option will be assessed on whether or not it's expected to increase or decrease employee satisfaction on a scale of -5 to 5. In order for an option to be considered, it must have an employee satisfaction of 2 or higher.
And for the impact on John McCullough just took the job of assigned general manager at the Blue River processed plant, and he doesn't want to relocate his family. The job may make some impact on McCullough's mental health, and McCullough is not sure he is able to cope this job. And using McCullough's private mental health before the job as a base of 0, the -5 being declined in mental health and 5 being the most improved mental state possible. And in order for an option to be considered, the option must be not have a score lower than -1.
Okay. So the first option would be John McCullough leaves Blue River Processing Plant. This would take about half a month. Employee satisfaction is -3. The employees don't really like this decision, it's not good. Impact on John McCullough's mental health would be 0. It's the same as before. He's leaving, returns to normal. Firing Bobby Vasquez would take about half a month also. The employee satisfaction is -2. This isn't really what the employees want. Impact on John McCullough's mental health would be -2. He doesn't want to do this at all. It's not what he wants. Third option would be to improve health and safety standards. This would take about 2 months. This is good for the employees, and this is also what John wants. It would help his mental health. Training for the on-floor employees. This would take about 3 weeks. Employee satisfaction is 3. That's good. Impact on John's mental health is 3. This is one of his ideas. This is good. Unannounced monthly inspections and reports. Take about a month, and this would be really good for the employees. It's 4, and it would help John's mental health also. It's 3. So
For the recommendation and rationale, after considering all the options for McCullough from the evaluation matrix, that we have decided that the best decision would be for him to use the unannounced monthly reports and inspections. This recommendation will send the company in a positive direction, attacking the #1 problem being health and safety, both with employees as well as their meat. With monthly check-ins, and this will lead United Beef Packers to retraining their employees to prevent as much injury as possible, as well as to keep the meat as healthy as possible. Also, with these monthly checkups, this will decrease the amount of workplace injuries due to their new training, due to them having new training. And this will also give the company good feedbacks on their workplace safety as well as their meat health and safety.
So the first task in implementing this option would be to contact OSHA to inquire about monthly unannounced inspections. This would only take about a day, and John would be responsible for this. In fact, John is responsible for all steps necessary in implementing this plan, so I won't be mentioning this later. Also with the costs, there is actually no cost, so therefore this plan doesn't need a budget. So I won't be mentioning that anymore as well. Moving on to task 2, this would be developing the criteria to cover in the monthly reports. This will only take about a month, just to make sure John can consider all options and all of the. John would need to analyze the Blue River Processing Plant's main cause of injury as well as contamination. So in order to do this, he would need to use available records already within the filing of the company. Moving on to task 3, this would be sending a letter of request to the board of directors to request a meeting on October 10th. This will only take about a day and would only really require communication and writing skills. On to task number 4, this would involve actually appearing in front of the board of directors to request the monthly reports and inspections. This would also only take a day and would require communication skills and as well as persuasion of the board, or on John's part, to make sure the board of directors really sees the benefits of this option. Task 5 would involve contacting OSHA to confirm monthly inspections. This would only take about a day and only involve communication skills. Task number 6, actually developing the physical reports. This would take about 7 days, so he would take the criteria from task 2, put it into task 6 onto the report. Moving on to task 7, this would be scheduling a meeting with all the floor managers to distribute the report. So this would be one-on-one meetings with the floor managers to get their input of when they would be able to meet. And then task 8, actually have the meeting and distribute the report. This would also only take about a day, and yeah. And this is exhibit 1. This is the Gantt chart of the implementation plan. So this illustrates our implementation plan. We have 2 other exhibits as well. Exhibit 2, which is the letter of request, and Exhibit 3, which was the actual physical report. However, we don't have that on this presentation, merely because the formatting didn't work out quite nicely. So those will be on our case report, but are not located here. That concludes our case report. I'm Ben Pelton.
I'm Gerda.
Marcus Upshaw.
And Jake McKinnon.